Welcome back to the Green Yoga Project, planting seeds for positive change. My name is Maya Mojo, and today I'm just going to read you Tenzins Deer, which is my very favorite story that I've read my daughters. And since today is the International Day of Peace, I thought I would share it with you as well. So I hope you enjoy. A little bit of mama energy for you. Tenzins Deer, written by Barbara Soros. Illustrated by Danuta Mayer. The musk deer is a small, shy, solitary animal found throughout the forested regions of Asia and Russia. Musk, the oil base used in a number of perfumes, is one of the most expensive natural products, up to 5 times more expensive than gold. The musk deer is widely poached for its precious scent gland, and as a result, this beautiful creature is facing extinction. In old Tibet, horses ran free over wide open plains. The land was watered by melting snows and protected from the fierce winds by the high Himalayan mountains. Under a great big sky, people once lived peacefully together, in villages and in houses made of roughly hewn stones. At dawn, the women stood on their rooftops burning juniper branches on charcoal fires. They offered dried fruit or yak butter to the gods and protective spirits of the mountains. The wisps of smoke carried the sweet smells of the juniper and the sweet sounds of the prayers high into the sky. May no harm come to us. May we love one another well. May we be kind to all creatures of the earth. They prayed as the sun rose and warmed the valley. In one of these houses lived a boy who was born just as a comet traveled the heavens. Everyone agreed that he was like a brilliant light in the night sky. Throughout the village he was known for his tender and loving heart. He was wiser than his young years, and was born with the knowledge of many generations in his memory. And so he was called Tenzin, holder of the teachings. Tenzin was kind to old people, to sick people, and to animals both wild and tame. He knew how to speak to the giant hairy yaks and zogs with only his voice. He could lead them from pasture to pasture. He knew how to gain the trust of the great mastiffs that guarded the villages at night. When he approached them, they rolled on their backs like pussycats, and he rubbed their bellies. Tenzin wandered the hills listening to the songs of the birds and learning how to sing them himself. He followed the tracks of foxes, and he found their homes and surprised them. He did not harm them. He just liked to watch them and sing to them, and sometimes bring them some treats. He had been taught that everything on the earth is alive and has a soul. Even the rocks, the trees, the stars, in the heavens. For the Tibetan people, everyone and everything is sister and brother. One day, Tenzin followed the tracks of a musk deer. He noticed that they looked heavy and slow rather than light and fast, as they sank into the earth instead of sitting on the surface. Suddenly he found the tiny young deer with her large ears and soft brown coat. She lay on her side in a pool of blood and cried from deep inside. "Help me, I'm in pain." A hunter's arrow had lodged in the deer's breast. Tenzin knew that if he pulled it out, the arrowhead would rip the muscle and tear the animal's heart. So, instead, he closed his eyes and slowed his breath, saying quietly to the deer, "May no harm come to you. May you soon be free from pain. May your suffering stop." He felt the pain of the deer as if it was his own pain. And he felt the fear of the deer as if it was his own fear. Then he saw in his mind the deer without the arrow in her chest, free from pain, but he did not know how this would happen. "What shall I do now?" Tenzin asked into the air. Gently the deer responded, "Carry me from here and do nothing now. It will come to you in a dream." Tenderly, Tenzin carried the deer to his house and made a bed for her on the roof with hay and cloth. As he lay her down, he whispered to her, "I will name you Jampa, loving kindness. Jampa opened and closed her soulful eyes several times, as if agreeing to her new name. At night, Tenzin lay down next to Jampa and fell asleep with his arm gently around her shoulder. And while the stars twinkled above them and the moon stood watch in the sky, he had a dream. In the dream, he saw the water of the melting snow rushing down the mountains. As it rushed, it loosened stones and red clay from the earth, which flowed easily with the clear water. The next morning, as the villagers offered their prayers to the protective spirits, Tenzin carried Jampa through the misty valley into the hills. He walked slowly, tenderly, repeating, "May no harm come to you. May you be free from pain." He walked and prayed until he reached a stream. Laying the deer in the stream, he held her with care, so the clear water could wash her wound. Jampa winced and made little moaning sounds, but she lay still, letting the boy gently hold her as the waters of the stream washed her. Blood ran with the water, and as it did, the arrow loosened on its own, and Tenzin was able to remove it with ease. Jampa looked at Tenzin with her tender brown eyes and gratefully said, "Thank you. May many blessings come into your life." A hole was left in the side of the deer. The boy asked, "What shall I do now?" "Do nothing now. It will come to you in a dream," Jampa responded. That night, on the roof, Tenzin lay with his arm around his new friend, gazing out at the black sky with millions of twinkling stars. Before long, he fell asleep. As he slept, he dreamt of the beautiful myrobalan plant with its flowers and leaves. In his dream, there was a hole in the earth, and when he placed the myrobalan plant on top, the hole closed, and the bare earth reseated itself, and grasses began to grow. At sunrise, on the third morning, Tenzin walked into the hills, carrying his beloved Jampa in his arms. As he did, he could hear the prayers of the villagers below. They sounded like a great droning of bees. "May no harm come to us. May we love one another. May we have compassion for all the creatures of the earth." As he walked, he began to pray quietly to the ear of the deer. "May no harm come to you. May you be free from pain." And his prayer joined the prayers of the villagers. Tenzin found the myrobalan plant, growing among the grasses in the sun. Its blossoms and leaves were dripping with dew. He closed his eyes and asked the protective spirit of the flower if it would mind being picked. The myrobalan responded, "Not if you put me to good use. I am here to help and to heal." He picked the entire plant, flowers, leaves, roots, and seeds. From the roots, the twigs, the leaves, Tenzin made a tea in a small kettle. When it was cool, he poured some of the tea into Jampa's wound. It bled again, but in time it stopped. Placing some of the petals over the wound, he wrapped a cotton gauze around the deer's belly to hold the flowers and the healing tea in place. That night, Tenzin held Jampa in his arms. As the stars glistened overhead and the moon kept watch, he dreamt the deer was walking by his side. Her coat shone and her eyes were clear. The days moved on. Each day Tenzin cleaned the wound with fresh tea from the myrobalan plant. Soon the deer stood on her legs, though she was still fragile. Often they sat peacefully on a hillside, Jampa resting in Tenzin's lap as he stroked her delicate head. During these times, Tenzin prayed, "May no harm come to you. May you be at peace. May my breath enter your body. May my strength be your strength. May your eyes be deep like the sea, and your heart be strong like a mountain, and your mind be free like the sky." Jampa grew stronger, and soon she and Tenzin were seen everywhere together, by the river where the women washed their clothes, or by walking with herds of zogs that the villagers milked daily for butter and milk. Tenzin and Jampa played by the stupas where people gathered to pray, and by the edge of the monastery where monks studied and lived together. More than anything, Tenzin loved his deer. They slept together, ate together, listened to the wind together, and spent many nights gazing at the changing moon over the vast mountains. One night, as the moon watched and the stars glimmered overhead, Jampa appeared to Tenzin in a dream. "Tenzin," she said tenderly, "I am so grateful to you for healing me, but it is time for me to go back into the wild. Please stop praying and holding me close to you. Please let me go." Tenzin woke with a start. Tears were running down his cheeks. It seemed the most terrible thing to let go of his cherished friend. That night, instead of sleeping, he sat by Jampa as she slept. He watched over her through the night. He could feel the moon watching with him and the stars comforting him. He looked at Jampa carefully. He didn't want to forget anything. He looked at her delicate nose and her pointed face and her velvety ears and her sweet little white tail. He stroked her through the night, and as he did, tears welled up in his heart and in his eyes. He knew that what she asked was right. And just at the time when night meets dawn, when the veil between dream and day is at its thinnest, Tenzin reached into his heart as deeply as the arrow which struck the deer to summon all of his courage. At the moment he felt his very bravest, he began to breathe with Jampa. As she breathed in, he breathed in. As she breathed out, he breathed out. His breath deepened, and as he felt as if he was now breathing for her, making it easy for her to leave, he said gently, "Go, my beloved friend, to the wild. Do not be held by my love. Go bravely and well, and clearly know we will meet again. Return to the earth as a gift." Almost as soon as he uttered the last word, Jampa sprang to her feet and was gone. Tenzin felt strange at first, as though some part of himself had disappeared. His belly felt hollow, and he wanted to cry. Slowly dragging his feet as he walked to the top of the mountain, just as the first rays of the sun hit the hills, as the prayers of the villagers echoed through the valley, he looked out, remembering all the places he had walked with Jampa. In his mind, Tenzin imagined Jampa leaping through the hills. He could feel her joy as if it were his own joy, and he could feel her freedom as if it were his own freedom. Overhead, a great winged eagle swirled in front of the sun. Below, swans glided into the lake. Tenzin can hear Jampa's melodious voice coming from far off. "Thank you, Tenzin. Thank you. I will remember when you need me. I will come to you." And that is what happened. As Tenzin grew into a man, he became a very fine doctor, tending with great care to the sick people in his village. Often he used the sacred myrobalan plant. He was a devoted husband and father who taught his children to be loving and kind. Sometimes Jampa came to Tenzin in his dreams. She was radiant, strong, and all grown up. She would say to him, as he had said to her, "May no harm come to you. May you be at peace. And may your eyes be deep like the sea, your heart be solid like a mountain, and your mind be free like the sky."